What is going on today, guys? We are back again with another video. In today's video, it kind of hits home. It's something that basically I didn't know that it mattered at the beginning of my gameplay, playing Warzone when, a couple of years ago when it first came out. And I didn't know it until, a little bit in. And recently, I've been playing it, I've been streaming it a little bit more, and I've had a few people jump into my chat. I've actually played with a guy the other night, and they had no idea that changing your settings mattered that much. So we're going to be kind of releasing to YouTube, to you guys, a couple different videos discussing the settings that you should change and fix up, and so forth. So today we're going to be discussing 3 graphic settings. These graphic settings will improve you as a player. Hear me out. I will explain each one and why they matter by themselves, and what they actually do. We will kind of dig in a little bit with those. But before we actually jump on into it here, make sure if you are new, you're smashing that subscribe button, smashing that like button, and let's get into it. So guys, you go ahead and you have Warzone open. You go and you open up your options. For PS4, it's the options button that pulls up the options, but Xbox, PC, gonna be something different. But you open it up and you're gonna go over to graphics. Again, these are gonna be 3 graphics settings that matter. So the first one's gonna be world motion blur. You can see the example on the side of the screen there. As you can tell, in the first picture, if there was a guy sitting in that window, compared to the second picture, you're gonna be a lot more likely to see him in the first one, without motion blur. So when you actually have the motion blur, it's actually a lot easier to miss enemies, a lot easier to miss movements happening on screen than if it's a full clear screen. Now, so go ahead and disable that one. The weapon motion blur is very, very similar. It doesn't matter as much as the world motion blur. Again, if you're want it on and you've played and you're doing great without it, then maybe this video isn't for you. But the weapon motion blur, to me, I like it a lot better when I can see exactly which way my gun is pointing, and it doesn't surprise me and I don't have to readjust after every time I run or after every time I spin around or whatever, as much. It's easier to readjust, if that makes sense. Again, not as important as the world motion blur, where it's very easy to miss people. This one just kind of distracts you a little more if you don't have those ones on. So we recommend going ahead and disabling both. But more importantly, is film grain. I see a lot of streamers, especially if those streamers that have under 4 viewers, a lot of them still have this film grain on. And when you turn it up, it looks a lot more like garbage. It's a lot harder, again, like the world motion blur, the film grain makes it a lot harder to view and to see enemies, in my opinion. On top of that, guys, it just looks like garbage, in my opinion. I don't like the film grain at all. We highly recommend you just remove it. So, like we have. Now, those will be those three settings that you guys can change to, improve your gameplay a little bit, to be able to give yourself the advantage that you deserve. On top of that, we recommend actually paying attention to the brightness. A lot of times people crank the brightness, or they crank it a lot more than they need because they don't like walking into a building and not being able to readjust and see things and so forth. We recommend actually paying attention, so actually doing it so you can't see the symbol in the first, you can barely see it in the second, and you can really see it in the third. actually pay attention to that. Change that, because when they release maps like Caldera, where it's super overexposed and super bright, if you have it cranked, you're going to have to constantly turn it down, and if you don't turn it down, it's going to affect your gameplay as well. And same with if it's too dark. So pay attention to that actual brightness. Don't just crank it, actually fix it. Change the 3 settings: the film grain, the motion blurs on world and weapons, and your gameplay will improve. You just have to give you guys have to give yourself the upper hand, and that's what it comes down to. So guys, those are the settings that I recommend changing to give yourself the upper hand. If you guys want to tune in and watch us play Warzone or a variety of a lot of other games, make sure to tune in to our Twitch at KNIXX Official. Will be linked in the description below. Until next time, we'll talk to you later. Peace.